Good morning, children. Hope everybody is doing well. You went through this our structure of the brain. I hope you completed the notes, thorough with the function and structure of each part of the brain. Now we will move on to the next part of the central nervous system. What is so? Central nervous system consists of two parts. The first part is brain, and the second part, I hope you remember. What is the second part? Second part is none other than our spinal cord. So we will see the function of this spinal cord. And spinal cord, what is the role of spinal cord in control and coordination? This is very interesting, children. This is something related to our day-to-day life. Every day we will come across any kind of this action done by spinal cord. That is what is called reflex action. This is actually reflex action. And reflex action, you might have heard, this reflex action is actually a purely involuntary action. This involuntary action is very quick. And this is unconscious also. Unconscious means it does not take place under the control of our brain. And these reflex actions are very, very important in our life. Because whenever we come across situations that doesn't have time for thinking, sometimes we will come across dangerous situations. We don't have any time to think. Then the message, usually what happens is message from our receptors of our sense organs will be carried to the brain, and by the sensory nerves. Brain actually this interprets it, and brain gives you command through the motor neuron. Motor neuron carries the commands to the effector organs, muscle and glands, and you will respond using your effectors. But in certain kind of situations, there won't be any time for thinking, because thinking is done by the cerebrum of the brain. So these type of situations, the reaction, sudden, quick, involuntary, unconscious means it is not under the control of our brain. Actions will be done with the help of our spinal cord. So that's why spinal cord is very, very important. Spinal cord, as you know, it is a bundle of nerves that actually connects between our brain and all the organs of the body. So from all the organs, actually the nerves go to the brain through the spinal cord. From the brain also, all the motor nerves go through the spinal cord. Spinal cord, we have studied what kind of nerves are there in the spinal cord. Yes, I hope you know. They are relay neurons or interneurons. We can call them as mixed nerves. So what happens, children? We will see how does a reflex action occur. Very simple, very interesting also. First, what happens is you touch a hot object. That means accidentally, without your knowledge, you are not aware of that situation. Accidentally, you touch a hot object. Then what happens? We have studied about receptors. Thermoreceptors are there in the skin, as well as pain receptors are in the skin. So these heat and pain receptors present in the skin, they detect this heat as well as pain, because heat is associated with pain also. Whenever you get a burn, you can understand there is pain also along with the heat. So this heat and pain receptors, they detect the heat as well as pain, and the sensory neuron that carries, the sensory neuron is there. Sensory neuron carries this message to the spinal cord. Okay, and the spinal cord, once this message reaches the spinal cord, there is a neuron called this. So sensory neuron carry the messages from our receptors to the spinal cord. In the spinal cord, this message is carried by relay neuron, interneuron. Relay neuron in the spinal cord, the message carried by the sensory neuron, it is transferred to the relay neuron. Relay neuron carry the message through the spinal cord. From the spinal cord, an instruction or command is given, and this command is carried by the motor neuron to the muscle of our hand. Okay, and this is also what happens is the message, it is carried to the muscle of the hand through the motor neuron. So what happens so far is, we accidentally touch a hot object. The message is carried from the receptors, thermoreceptors and pain receptors carry the message through the sensory nerve to the spinal cord. In the spinal cord, the message is transferred, or it is actually passed to the relay neuron or interneuron. Interneuron pass the message through the spinal cord, and spinal cord gives a command or instruction to the motor neuron. Motor neuron carries this command to the effector. Here the effector is the muscle in the arm. So this, as a result of this command, the effector contracts. Effector muscle contracts, and all of a sudden we lift away or we withdraw our hand. So this, I am actually for telling you this, I takes this much time. For this action to take place, it takes a very, very simple fraction, very minute fraction of a second only it will take for taking place, for the occurrence of this reflex action. Then what happens? Here, why the message is carried to the spinal cord? Because spinal cord is closer to our this hand, isn't it? Spinal cord closer to our hand, that is, it is situated inside our backbone or vertebral column only. So, in order to protect our body from any danger, otherwise, just imagine children, instead of carrying this message to the spinal cord, if it is carried to the brain, by that time our hand got burnt. Hand will get burnt. So, in order to protect our body from this kind of dangerous situations, reflex action occur. And so that is the case of reflex action. So reflex action, you must understand. First, the message carried from the receptor through the sensory neuron to the spinal cord. In the spinal cord, the message is passed to the relay neuron. Relay neuron, this carry the message through the spinal cord, and spinal cord gives a command or instruction to the motor neuron. Motor neuron carries this command or instruction to the muscle, that is the effector organ. So that based on, according to this instruction of this carried by the motor neuron from the spinal cord, this effector or muscle of our arm, that withdraws our hand, contracts and withdraw one hand all of a sudden. So that's why we are protected from a dangerous situation. We can prevent ourselves from getting burnt. So here children, what happened? Here the muscle is there. Muscle, and this is connected to a motor neuron. I hope you remember. Muscle when connected to a motor neuron, what is that junction on us? We have studied in the last class. The motor neuron, when it comes in contact with a muscle, that is an effector organ, that junction we will call it as neuromuscular junction. Here this also impulse is carried to the neuromuscular junction, and as a result effector withdraws this hand and we will be protected from the dangerous situation. Now we will see. Here this is purely done with the help of the reflex act. This reflex action is purely done with the help of our spinal cord. Then what will be the role of our brain? Has the brain any role in this kind of reflex actions? These are simple reflexes actually. These kind of reflexes are very simple. Another example I will tell you. Suppose this somebody throws any object into your face, into your eye, you will blink your eyes. That's a kind of reflex action. In a knee jerk, and somebody tap under this on your this knee, and we will actually jerk our this knees. All these are other examples. So this is the example we are focusing for your this syllabus. So you have to understand what is the role of brain in reflex action. Here the message carried to the spinal cord, the spinal cord processes it, instruction given by the spinal cord, and this effector does the reaction also. Then 1 or 2 seconds after the reflex action is over, this message is carried, or this information is carried to the brain also. This is what is message to the brain. Message to the brain. So 1 or 2 seconds after the reflex action is over, this information is carried to the brain, and brain makes you aware of the situation. Brain keeps that in the memory. That means this is a dangerous situation. that will be recorded or fed in the cerebrum, and so that next time we will be careful, we can protect ourselves from this dangerous situation, that we can understand this. If you put our hand in the flame or this, that is dangerous, we will get ourselves burned under, so we can act accordingly. So this is how the reflex, after the reflex action is over, 1 or 2 seconds after that, message will be carried to the brain, and information, when it reaches the brain will be aware of the situation that this is a dangerous situation. So next time in future we can protect ourselves from dangerous situations like this. That is the role of the brain in reflex action. Now we will see what is a reflex arc. Reflex arc, what is happening is, children, the path through which a reflex action, that means the path or the route through which a nerve impulse travels during reflex action, we will call it as the reflex arc. Reflex arc, this is actually very important. Sometimes this the question can be asked for your exam also. Make a flow chart on reflex arc. Reflex arc is the path through which the nerve impulse travels during a reflex action. That is very simple, children. We have already studied. Here, in this particular example, the stimulus is the heat. Okay, stimulus is the heat. Then what happens is, this heat, stimulus is the heat. There are thermoreceptors in the skin, as well as pain receptors are also there. Thermoreceptors and pain receptors are there. They carry. So stimulus, heat is there, and pain is also there. So you have to write in the bracket, when you draw this reflex arc, you have to add this also. So receptors of the skin, thermoreceptors, they detect the heat and pain, and this thermoreceptors detect the heat, and pain receptors, they detect the pain. And sensory neurons are connected with these receptors of the skin. Sensory neuron carries this information or nerve impulse to the spinal cord. In the spinal cord, relay neuron or interneuron, this carries this message through the spinal cord. And then spinal cord gives an instruction or command that is carried by this motor neuron. Motor neuron carries this command to the effectors or muscles of the hands. And as a result, these effectors muscles contract and we draw our hand all of a sudden, so that we will be protected from getting burnt. So this is how reflex action occurs. So reflex arc is very simple. The path or the route through which a nerve impulse travels during reflex action, we will call it as reflex arc. Very simple. Start with the stimulus. Heat as well as pain is there. Receptors in the skin. Sensory neuron carry this message to the spinal cord. In the spinal cord, relay neuron passes it through the spinal cord, and the command is carried from the spinal cord. So relay neuron passes this command to this the motor neuron. Motor neuron carries this command to the effectors. Effectors, they withdraw, they actually contract, and as a result, this withdraw our hand. Very simple action. So this is what is called reflex action. I hope you understood. And now we'll move on to the next I will show you what is this reflex action then. Now this is the video showing the reflex action. Here this person actually touches a hot object. Then what happens? Sensory receptors are there, heat receptors are there in his hand actually. That sensory receptors in the fingertip that actually detects the heat as well as the paints this stimulus and it is carried by the sensory neuron, carries this to the spinal cord, and in the spinal cord interneuron this carries it, and when from what happens is the spinal cord gives a command that is carried by the motor neuron. This is the motor neuron carries the command to the muscle of our hand, and all of a sudden we withdraw our hand. This is very simple, children, the reflex action. So reflex actions actually here arm muscles contract, these are effectors, so the person withdraw his hand all of a sudden. That's very simple. That's the case of the reflex action. So here you must understand reflex action is a purely involuntary reaction of effectors, and here what happens is this person touches the hot object, all of a sudden he withdraws his hand. Something actually, if somebody this throw any objects into our face, we withdraw our hand. Knee jerk also, that is another example of reflex action. So that is over. Now we will see the case of plant movements. Okay, children, plant movements we will see now. Before that, I will tell you about the movements of the plants. Movements of the plants are internal actually. In the case of animals actually they show locomotion. That means they can move from one place to another. So that is the case of difference between the plant and animal movement is the animals show locomotion, but plants show internal movements. That is, these movements are shown by some of the parts of the plants only. They don't move from one place to another. And plant movements, we can broadly classify the plant movements into two types. The first type of plant movement is tropic movement, and the second one is the nastic movement. Very simple, children. Tropic movement and nastic movements are the two types of plant movements we are going to discuss now. This is actually a very simple topic, tropic and nastic movement. Here, when you see this video itself, when you listen to my class itself, it will be very clear to you. It will be recorded in the cerebrum, but you have to be very attentive. Then only your receptors from your ears, eyes will be carrying these messages to the cerebrum and makes the cerebrum to interpret it, and it will be recorded in the memory. Okay. So please listen, children. These tropic and nastic movements. And first I will tell you what is tropic movement. And in the case of the tropic movement, what happens is all these tropic as well as nastic movements that takes place in response to some kind of stimuli. Any kind of stimuli will be there. And so we will see some kind of stimulus will be there in the case of both tropic and nastic movements. Some kind of stimuli will be there. Stimuli, you know, we have studied. Stimuli means different changes in the environment. There will be light, and plants are very sensitive to light. Light is a stimulus, and another stimulus is the gravity or earth. Gravity or the pull of the earth. That is this another stimulus. Then another stimulus is water. Water is another external stimulus. In response to that, the plants show movements. And also here, children, chemicals are there. Chemicals are other examples of stimuli. Then one more example is there. Touch is also a stimulus. So these are the different types of stimulus. Based on that, we can actually study about the movements in plants. So plants will respond to light. Plants will respond to gravity. Plants will respond to touch and chemicals. So based on that, plants show different type of movements. We will see what are they. Okay. Here you must understand, children, during the growth of the plant, the shoot of the plant always grow towards the sunlight. Okay, so the shoot always, you can see, they grow towards the sunlight. So you have to understand, children, whenever this growth of a plant occurs towards the light, or towards, actually you must understand tropic movement first. So the movement of plant parts in relation to a stimulus, in which the direction of the stimulus determine the direction of the response. These kind of movements we will call them as tropic movements. So now we are going to see about the tropic movements first. So what happens, children? Here tropic movement or tropism means this is the kind of movement in which the direction of the stimulus decides the direction of the response. You know what is the stimulus here? The stimulus is light. The sunlight is the stimulus here, the light, that is the sunlight. Here this sun is there, the light of the sun, that is the stimulus here. And so the shoot, you know, children, shoot always grow towards the sunlight. Okay, suppose the plant receives light from this side, the shoot will be moving towards this opposite side. So if the movement of the plant part, or the movement means the response shown by the plant part, it is determined by the direction of the stimulus. These kind of movements we can call as tropic movements. Very simple, children. Here the direction of the light only determines the growth or movement or response shown by the shoot. That means shoot always grow towards the light. Got it? Then what happens is the root. What does the root do? Root grows away from the sunlight. Okay. So here you must understand, children, when the movement shown by the plant is towards the stimulus, we can call it as positive tropism. What do we call it as? Positive tropism. And if the movement shown by the plant is away from the stimulus, we can call it as negative tropism. Negative tropism, this is what is negative tropism. So here root show negative tropism and the shoot shows positive tropism. That means here what is the stimulus here? Light. As light is the stimulus, we can call this tropism as phototropism. So you must understand, children, the phototropism here. So we can say the shoot is positive, shoot shows positive phototropism. The shoots are showing, what does the shoot do? Shoot show positive phototropism, while the roots show, what do they do? They show negative phototropism. So you must understand, this is how tropism occurs. So tropism is the kind of plant movement in which the direction of the response is determined by the direction of the stimulus. That means wherever the light is available, the shoot always bends towards the light. And the root always, so we can say the shoot is always positively phototropic, because photon means light. And on the other hand, the root actually moves away from the stimulus of light. So we can say that roots are negatively phototropic. So that is the kind of tropism. So now we have seen phototropism only. Okay, now we'll see, children, the phototropism only we have seen. Now we'll see phototropism. Here the positive phototropism. The shoot actually it shows positive phototropism. It grows towards the light, it bends towards the light. So we can say that this shoot is positive phototropism, but on the other hand, what does the shoot do? Shoot actually shows this positive phototropism. At the same time, the shoot show this negative geotropism. I will tell you what is geotropism. Very simple, children. Geotropism, what happens is, here the stimulus is the gravity. When the stimulus is gravity, we can say it is geotropism. Geotropism. Here the shoot grows. This is gravity, the pull of the earth. Actually the earth attracts all objects or pulls all objects towards the center. That is what is called this gravitational force. So here what happens is, children, the shoot always grow away from the gravity. So gravity, this is gravity. Gravity actually it is applied downwards. Earth pulls the objects downwards. So here the shoot always grow in the opposite direction of this gravity. So we can say that shoots show negative geotropism. So they are negatively geotropic. But on the other hand, what does the root do? These are the roots. These roots are growing downwards in the same direction of the gravity. So we can say that the roots are positively geotropic. So we have studied about two types of these tropic movements now. First is phototropism, very simple. And shoots always bend towards the sunlight. So they are positively phototropic. On the other hand, the roots are negatively phototropic because roots always grow away from the sunlight towards the ground, towards the gravity. And when we think in terms of the geotropism, geotropism means the movement of the plant part in response to the stimulus of the gravity. Stimulus of this, whether it is moving towards the earth or away from the earth. So here what happens is, shoot as it moves upwards, away from the gravity. We can say that shoots are negatively geotropic. On the other hand, the root grow towards the gravity, and so we can say that roots are positively geotropic. Now we'll see the next. Okay, children. Positive phototropism. Now we'll see the case of this next type of tropism. Here negative phototropism shown by the root because it grows away from the sunlight, and a positive geotropism shown by the root because it is growing towards the gravity. Now we'll see another important type of plant movement. This is very interesting, children. Just look at the picture. What is happening actually? Here what is happening is, children, very interesting. Here the plant. Here this is an example of a climber. You will see this is an example of a climber. And climber, what is happening is, this climber plant, these are climbers. As you know, the climbers are weak stemmed plants. And these climbers, they can't stand erect. They have to tin around or they wind around or coil around any supporting plant, or coil around any fences. Now this is actually, there is a supporting plant. So here what happens is, the climbers have specialized structures. These specialized structures we will call them as tendrils. We will call this modified. These are tendrils, may be modified leaf, modified stem, etc. These are these coiled structures. These structures coil around or tin around any support and help this plant to stand erect. So that's the function of tendrils. So these tendrils are highly sensitive to touch. So what happens, children? Tendrils, they tin around any support. When they come across any, this is the supporting plant, they actually tin around or coil around or wind around the supporting plant like this. So these tendrils are showing positive tropism, and this actually, what is the stimulus here? The stimulus here is the supporting plant's tendrils come in contact with the supporting plant. That means the stimulus here is touch. The stimulus here is touch. So you must understand, children, whenever there is an external stimulus of touch, that kind of tropism, we will call it as thigmotropism. What is it known as? Thigmotropism. So you must understand, children, here this is the third type of tropic movement we are studying. Here thigmotropism, here the external stimulus is touch. Here what happens is the tendrils, they twin around, wind around or coil around support. They show positive thigmotropism. So this is an example of this thigmotropic movement. So this is the next type of tropic movement we studied, thigmotropism. Typical example, climbers actually, they climbing around support. Then next type of movement. So thigmotropism, here the stimulus is a touch. That's why the growth of a plant part in response to the stimulus of the touch, we will call it as the thigmotropism. Now we will see the next type of this tropic movement. Here what happens is, children, here thigmotropism already they are showing once again. Here this plant actually, this weak stemmed plant has tendrils, modified structures, modified stem, leaf, etc. They are positively thigmotropic, and when they come in contact with the supporting plant, they wind around the support. That is what is called this thigmotropism. Now we will see the next type of tropism, here called hydrotropism. Here the stimulus, as you know, it is the, from the name itself it is clear, the stimulus is water. Okay, hydrotropism. And wherever water is available, these roots always grow towards water. So we can say the roots are positively, these roots are hydrotropic, means they move towards the water. So we will call it as positive hydrotropism. Roots always grow towards the source of light. Wherever water is available, they always grow towards the source of water only. So roots are positively, they are positively what, children? Hydrotropic. Hydrotropic. So the next type of tropic movements only we can complete today. Nastic movements we will continue tomorrow. Now you listen to the next type of tropic movement. Okay. So hydrotropism, here children, the movement of plant part, especially these roots grow towards the light, towards the water. Now we see the next type of tropism, that is what is called chemotropism. Here this actually the stimulus is the chemical. Here the stimulus is the chemical. So the movement of the plant parts in response to the stimulus of chemical. Whenever there is a chemical substance present, if the plant part move in response to this chemical, we will call it as chemotropism. The typical example is, I hope you remember stigma. Stigma is there, this is stigma, and then style is there, and this portion style, and this is the ovary. All these together make the female, this reproductive, this unit. In the case of a flower, that is the carpel or pistil is made up of stigma, style and ovary. So you must understand, children, this stigma produces a sugary chemical substance. Okay, and this chemical substance will be secreted into the style. Whenever this chemical substance is present in the style, you know what happens? So you know stigma, style and ovary is there. During pollination, what happens, children? Pollination, the pollen grains will be transferred. The pollen grains will be transferred to the stigma. These pollen grains actually, the pollination is the process of transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma. So when these pollen grains are deposited in the stigma, what happens, children? Next the process is a pollen tube is formed through the style. And this pollen tube moves down the style and finally reaches the ovary, ovule in the ovary. And this pollen tube, you know what does it carry? Pollen tube carry male gametes. So this growth of the pollen tube through the style towards the ovary, this is induced by a chemical substance present in the style. And so the movement of the pollen tube towards the ovary, that is what is known as chemotropism. That is a typical example of chemotropism. So chemotropism is the tropic movement in response to the chemical. So here a chemical sugary substance is present in the style, that is produced by the stigma, secreted by the stigma. Then in response to this chemical, the pollen tube grows down the style towards the ovule in the ovary. This movement of pollen tube towards the ovary, this is a typical example of chemotropism. So now we have studied all the type of tropic movements. Okay, children. Now
conclude the class.
okay, children. Now I will ask you some of the questions what is based on previous lesson as well as today's lesson. So today's lesson we have studied reflex action as well as the type of tropic movements. Nastic movements will be continued tomorrow. You have to listen to some of the questions and hope you went through the note also. Now we'll come will discuss some of the questions and